Now, one more area that needs a lot of love is the inside. It's gonna have to wait and some quick screws here on the top first. It's just really quick. So after all this is done, I'm just gonna move everything into like the right layers. Right now I'm just putting things out there just because it's much faster to just keep this in one layer while I'm working, and then just moving it to the correct layer instead of moving them as I go. I normally just keep all these details in one layer and then just mirror them, but when something like this that is animated, I have to I basically have to move them, but I'm not going to do that until later. So let's see, place this here. So now I feel kind of bad if I have made some of these floaters and I'm not going to use them in the entire video, but that's the nature of floaters, I guess. Don't quite know what you need beforehand. Yeah, so for example like these, they were placed when it was actually animated. So now I have to find the right frame. There. That's a lesson to be learned. Okay. Now, for placing things on the inside, it's a bit trickier here because we actually have to hide. I'm actually going to go in and hide these layers because this. Alright, I can't hide that one even. Because the problem is that this one reacts to what's under the mouse. So if I would start placing things here, even if I'm in this layer and disable the visibility in the viewport, they are still there, so it still won't work. So I think maybe the easiest is if we, and instead we just have to do this. Alright, that's another lesson. Doesn't work with animated objects. So if I want to place this one here now, oh yeah, it does. Never mind me. It's if this was in the animated layer, it would end up in the layer's original position instead. So what I'm gonna have to do is that I have to place all these details and then I have to move them back before before turning it back in the animation. So place some more details. Not gonna put all the focus here, of course, since it's the inside. Just a little bit. Okay, no one's gonna see this. I feel good about it. Okay, so I'm just gonna grab the ones to put here. If that's all of them, I'll just put them in this layer. So I think a little bit more detailing and that will be it, I think. So let's see, where can we place this one? Place it here. quick rivets. So there's actually one more thing I want to address before I move on to the next stage, and that's the I want to do something about the mag and this big empty space here. So I want to do one cutout at least in this one, just to break up the surface a little bit. Something like that, I think. But also I want to just cut this up here in case I change my mind later. That. Cool. So the last thing I want to do is I want to actually remove this, put it in its own layer. Just because I think it's gonna look pretty cool to have that, you know, it's a separate thing in the render. So I'm just gonna really quickly detail this up, so there's, you know, some kind of mechanics in here, you know, for attaching this. Doesn't need to be very detailed since we're not exactly gonna show this off. But I can't leave something like that behind, knowing that there's absolutely nothing there. So I'm just gonna do something. That's too far out. Okay. And of course, this place do need some little booleans to have, you know, give that hyper detail when we're opening it up. So a few of these. Do the trick. Okay, let's quickly do something about this one. Okay, so this one is gonna have to be very quick and dirty as well, so I'm just gonna thicken this. Just give it a tiny little bit of detail so it reads nicely. I'm just gonna thicken this one here and pretend that it looks good. Interesting. Okay. There. Some very quick cutouts. That selection I just did there is yet another Seneca trick. script. I highly recommend anyone uses Modo to get all these scripts and learn as many as you possibly can. Okay, just gonna copy paste these a bit. Oh, so there's the thing again, I have to actually look at this to be able to somehow do the boolean. Let's see. Aha! That worked. Okay. Just gonna take the whole thing and tag it as small. So you can see how it looks. Well, actually, we can take the time and move all of these now. These ones are static. Just put them somewhere and mirror them. Should also go. This is the boring part, cleaning this mess up. See, all of these should be moving, right? No, not these. All right, cool. Well, let's grab those. And this one should not be mirrored, but the rest should. Okay. Now we should be able to just put this one back. Actually, now we can look at it in a quick preview render. Right, looks pretty decent. So, I'm gonna take this, come back here and copy paste it over here. Something I just figured out while copy pasting all the things. Now I'll just leave it like this. Or I'm a perfectionist and we do this instead. There. Now everyone's happy. So that's it for the modeling. Now I'm going to make some decals. Now to add the procedural texture decals I will use, I'm going to the shading and then we're going to add an procedural texture. So it's in enhance mode textures, and then in tiles we have one called ribs that we're going to use. and it's pretty, like, there's a lot of procedural textures. You can do all kinds of stuff with them. So this one just basically makes stripes. So I'm just gonna set the scale to something arbitrary. That and I'm just gonna bring up the preview render window, which is F8, by the way, and we can go. Look here now. Of course, this is all reflective, so we can't see anything except here. We go to the texture locator and set it to a cubic. See if that's better. And gonna go in and change some of these values. So we want to set the grout width to 50% and the bevel width to 0. As you can see, it doesn't look quite right yet. It's because the tiling here is not correct, so we need to set this to 12. Okay, so now we have some stripes, and then we're gonna like remove the world transforms, because that means when it's animated, it's not going to follow. It's not going to be stuck. It's going to actually, follow the mesh properly. So we want to have that unchecked, and then we can go in and tweak the size a bit. I want them to be a bit bigger, so I'm just going to increase it to 1 meter, maybe 1.3, like that. And now you can also rotate them, for example. So here, 45 degrees. It's a bit broken, around 45 degrees. There. So as you can see, it doesn't show up on the actual metal here, because the metal is not accepting any diffuse color, since it's a metal and it's physically correct. So right now it only shows up here. So we're gonna, but we don't want it to show up everywhere, right? So we're just gonna create a group here and put it in there, and I'm gonna mask this similar to how I masked the tagging before. So I'm gonna use tags for this one as well. So I have a similar setup that I use. You can do however you want, but I'm just gonna go in and select this here. This is where I want some stripes. This part here, and I'm just going to tag it with my own tags here. So I'm just going to call it stripes 1. This is a preset that I have. You can call it whatever you want and tag it in another way. So I'm just going to set this here to a selection set and stripes 1. So now only the things that have stripes 1 will have this stripes on them, but right now it doesn't show up because I can actually use the wood as an example. I can tag some things here. It doesn't show up on the metal because it's only affecting the diffuse channel, but I also don't want the black parts. I only want the white stripes. So I'm just going to go into the close these. So here you have the two values, the black and the white. So I can set this to whatever I want, but I want it to be black. It doesn't matter, because you also have the alpha, so you can actually just set this to 0, and then we'll only leave the white parts. But we also want this to affect the metal, so I actually need to mask out the ribs in the specular as well. So I'm just gonna create an instance of this. Sometimes you need to deselect things. There you go. So this way it will still have all the correct values, and if we change the values of the original one, they will still follow. So I'm just gonna go and change this channel here from being diffuse color to be specular amount, but I don't want it to override the underlying values. I just wanted to change them. So I'm going to change this to multiply, and I'm going to set this one here, the foreground. It now has a value 100%. I'm going to set that to like 10, and if we bring this up now, see here, but now you see that we have the black stripes are back again because they're not actually masked out now. So right now it's making everything, it's changing everything here. So since it's a multiply, I'm just going to put it to 100. That way it's not going to impact anything. So here we have some stripes. So that's the basics of how you do it. Problem is that you get these kind of issues where it's cuts in the projection because it's projected cubic mapped. So it kind of depends on what kind of projection type you want on these ribs, because you can change that here. So in our case, this projection is actually better if we put it as 45 degrees in the x-axis. That's the right axis, right? Yeah. So it depends on what axis you're projecting in, and you know what kind of surfaces you're projecting over. Since if you were doing this without UVs, there are some limitations that you have to work around a bit. Okay, so now since this is on top of everything, it's like in Photoshop, so this applies to everything pretty much. Since it doesn't have any, the only tag that impacts it is stripes 1. So this is a good way you can place things, like if you want dirt that you want to be on everything, you can actually place it above everything and it will be on top of everything. So I'm just gonna make a few more. This one, the stripes, maybe. This one as well. Check it out. There it is. Oh, and this one is in the wrong axis, so you can't really see anything. Alright, and I'm just going to remove the tag from the wood example. Okay, so that's it for the decals. So we're going to go in and do a little bit more with them, but that's in the final rendering and material setup stage.